So, yeah, I guess the first thing to talk about today is that we're going to take the AI for that podcast and focus more on the book, Spartan Code, that I'm writing about my experiences. There's been some actually really interesting endeavors going on. I have accepted a full time position, and it's going to limit my talking about AI and some of the subjects because the reality is I am not in the market of selling AI anymore. I'm going to work for somebody else, and hopefully, we are going to do great stuff and hopefully make the world better. And I'm inspired by doing stuff and taking AI, like the last episode, talking to people that I've known through my life and say, hey, man, this AI is going to affect us in some way. And scuba diving, I love it. My military service, I love that. You know, um, one of the reasons I did the company AI for that was to help veterans get their claims through the VA. If you're a veteran and you've had to deal with the process and procedures, you understand some of the difficulties and hurdles, and it's difficult sometimes from a veteran's perspective to understand how the VA system is built. And it's one of those things that has just become its own thing. And now there is a company, veteranai.co. There's a couple other companies out there, or at least one other, that is doing a similar process to what I talked about to my old tank commander, Sergeant Slaughter, that passed away this year, May. So, yeah, I am happy to see people and companies move in this direction. I'm not sure how they are going to monetize this. There is a monetary incentive for any company and this technology. And the things that we have to look and think about as a society and culture is, do we want to promote just the monetization of this, or do we want to promote this as, a public service, a good? Um, I like living in the cities. I don't want to live on a mountaintop. I like running water. I like fast internet. I like flushing toilets. I like electricity. The modern conveniences are great, and I love it as part of society. But there comes a point in your life like you have to exist as a Spartan existence, and that's one of the things that, as a veteran, I embraced. And you're out in the desert. You don't have a lot. You don't have running water. Sometimes you're taking baths out of buckets. You know, it's stripping life down to the simplicity of what we want to make our life and our society. And there's a point that when we start adopting cars over horses, when we start adopting indoor plumbing, there are things in society that have changed. I don't think when people switched and started using internal combustion engines, they ever thought about global warming or carbon emissions. Yet here we are, and that's a big conversation today. And there's all sorts of trade-offs, but AI is one of the tools out there, and it's something that people are going to use one way or another, and how it's used needs to be considered. But it really helped me. I've used AI for quite a while. I don't know, I can try and send a link to a paper that I wrote about 10 years ago on using a classification system. It was a computer science course. I'm just, just an old nerd that likes to learn, and I kind of expanded on that paper with some other work, and it includes building AI agents and getting what people in computer science typically call using AI. The AI today is different than the stuff that I worked and programmed on 10 years ago or even 20 years ago, but it is moving at a breakneck speed. So one of the things I've been doing between now and then is working quite diligently with the Hugging Face and creating some specific image generation, text to image generation stuff. This is really amazing what you can get done with it, but it is not at the point where I can talk through it. Like as an average user, I don't expect somebody to be able to go to their computer and open up their terminal or do a shell command. As someone that's used technology for years and has been, oftentimes forced from more of a system admin role to a user role, yet I still understand the concepts and the dynamics going on at work. I am always concerned when the power that I used to have as a user is taken away from me in order for a platform to monetize it. One of the interesting companies I came across as I was doing the text to image generation was this company here, Black Forest Labs, and they have some wonderful transformers and other resources on the huggingface.com website, which is for people that want to use AI and work with some of the most interesting new models which are being shared openly in open forums. And the progress is wonderful. If you understand a text to image generator, I like to use more of the mainstream ones like ChatGPT because the interface is much easier. I wouldn't expect most people to go download some specific Python files and transformers and the dependencies, jump into their terminal, and then write a script with specific text. That's pretty much what I ended up having to do for the scuba images. And even then, they came out not very good. The way a lot of this stuff is happening right now is people are tuning the models for specific purposes. I hope the scuba community takes note of this and starts looking into what AI can be used for within scuba to help improve safety, to help improve diver satisfaction, to help dive shops. I know a lot of friends and other people in the dive community that when they have a bad year because like here in Panama City, we had the BP oil spill and it killed the dive income for a lot of people that I knew as friends and colleagues and divers for that year. And it was impactful. And, the government organizations, legal entities, they try to figure out the compensation for stuff like that. But yet, what people a lot of times don't realize is they need to start documenting the impact that these things have in order to receive any of that. It's just like with a VA claim or something else. So, sometimes there's weather events. We had Hurricane Michael here in 2018, and that shut down a lot of stuff. It was later in the season, so not so much in the dive community got lost, but one of my long-term friends lost their dive boat. It got thrown up on a bunch of piers and was a total loss. And, you know, um, not sure there was even any assistance that he could get from that. But yeah. So the book Spartan Code is kind of more of a snapshot of my life and how the experiences and stuff that I went through in 2002 and 2003, leading up to the invasion of Iraq and us crossing the border. It's not like the book Thunder Run. I think one of the things that really tickles me is when I ask my AI, why did the U.S. win? And it always says something about technical superiority, air superiority, all sorts of other stuff. And some of them start maybe talking about a little bit of discipline and training of the troops. And I will tell you what, uh, I lost a whole bunch of road wheels as we were driving up to Baghdad, and there is nothing fun driving a tank and seeing one of your road wheels go off into the sunset going doo 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 doo. And, you know, we ended up taking 3 objectives within Baghdad called Larry, Curly, and Moe. And I will have to remember to bring my map maybe for the next discussion. But Larry, Curly, and Moe were objectives, company-sized objectives that we took and held within a city of 5 million, and we were maybe 1,000. And I call us the Spartan 1,000 because we were second armored. Not second armor, but we were 2nd Brigade, 3rd Infantry Division, which was known as the Spartans. And I'll try and get a picture up for that. But yeah, we got up to there and our vehicles were barely working. Nobody talks about when we almost ran out of water, and then the water that we did get was some chemical crazy water that tasted like chlorine, so you're only drinking a sip at a time. Sleepless nights, long days. It doesn't mention any of that. It just talks about technical superiority, and I giggle about the road wheel, and I giggle about using a civilian GPS instead of the military one because the military one we had wasn't real good. I don't like to take a Spartan code and just turn it into like a warrior saying, and there's also a huge amount of humility and a large amount of servant leadership. So, Sergeant Major Robert Gallagher, he was a great man. That was our Sergeant Major. He was a big proponent of the servant leadership. I'll try and put in a link in here, but it's that kind of devotion for a cause and a purpose that makes military service for people like me worthwhile. And all I ask is that we have a discussion. It can start with a book, but I would like it to end with a discussion of a Spartan code, of the amount of privacy I expect within society, the amount of how my government and people and social media platforms and companies are able to interact with me. I find it unacceptable that companies can scan public records for information about my address, my house, and market to me specifically. And I don't understand why that is not part of a discussion of public privacy anymore, other than it's become something that we just accept. And I refuse to accept stuff like that. And I think it should be a minimal amount of respect. And I plan myself to write my own API and to handle social media and other platforms like that, because they are funneling the news in ways that I don't want because of somebody marketing them and paying them more money to push stuff onto my feeds. I miss the days of being able to read a magazine or a news article without something else popping up based on, browsing habits or picking up voices on a microphone. And I just hope that we can have that discussion, because even if there is no resolution, at least the discussion was made and people understand that there are people like me that don't need much, but want some sort of Spartan API, Spartan Code to help protect, the sanctity of privacy, being at home, not being marketed to as if my public information is for sale. So I was messing around the other day, and some of the Spartan Code stuff, I said, well, what if we did a reverse Miranda rights from the Spartan point of view? And this is what I got. You have no right to remain silent. Every word you speak shall serve the glory of Sparta. Failure to do so is dishonorable. You have no right to refuse orders, and counsel will be provided by the state only if it serves the needs of the polis. Your duty is not to yourself, but to your brothers. To falter is to fail the state, and the penalty is exile or death. I thought that was pretty neat. I am going to try and have another episode, hopefully next week, with a guest. I'm going to talk about some of my National Guard time and the possibility of using AI to help with federal natural disasters and possible ways of how that could be implemented. But of course, the show is pivoting more towards the book, so we are going to end up focusing more on that.